What's up, y'all? TBrown31 here. JaboctheGreat. This is the last word. We got another episode of This Week in the NBA from March 8th, 2024. As always, we want to start off with the standings. Let's start off with the Eastern Conference right now. So, first team to actually clinch a playoff spot. No surprise here, the Boston Celtics, who are right now on a little bit of a slump. They've actually lost 2 straight games. But despite that, they've still been good enough this entire season to be the first team to clinch a playoff spot at 48 wins, just 14 losses. So, I mean, it's not really a surprise in that sense, but I think fans are more concerned about, the 2 straight losses, one game, obviously that big marquee matchup against the Nuggets. And then before that, losing to the Cavs after absolutely thrashing the Warriors on Sunday. Everybody was talking about that all week. To start the week, it's over. The Celtics they're amazing. And based on that game, I would have said the same thing. But just like that, NBA works kind of funny. You can lose 2 straight games and they maintain a 7.5 game lead over the Bucks regardless, but still not amazing for the Celtics this past week.
Yeah, a rough stretch of games for them. They destroy the Warriors. They set up the Bucks for a bad revenge game, which we'll get to here in a few minutes. But yeah, standings. Otherwise, nothing is too crazy going on. I mean, the Celtics have a massive lead, but I guess concerningly, their 2 losses do come to playoff contenders. One of them they could only face in a finals scenario. One of them is too high up for them to face in the first round, but they could end up facing otherwise as the playoffs develop. But the Cavs maybe more concerningly beat them with a Dean Wade explosion in the fourth quarter, where he suddenly erupted to 23 points. Similar thing happened just a few games ago for the Cavs with Max Strus in the fourth quarter. Don't really know what's going on. Obviously, LeBron had his fourth quarter moment this week. Not a Cav at the moment, of course. But yeah, Celtics having a rough little 2-game streak there to kind of bring them back down to earth. The Nuggets, of course, are going to be. That's what everyone was waiting for. Potential finals matchup, people have said. And they got some tough ones to come up. I mean, they have the Suns, and that's going to be Blazers and Jazz. But they have such a lead on the Eastern Conference that they've clinched the playoff spot. I don't believe they've clinched the first seed, but I think it's pretty safe to say that barring any tragedy for that team, some sort of catastrophic tank, which they wouldn't even fall that far. Obviously, they're clinched. I think the 1 seed is probably guaranteed. On the opposite end of our standings talk will be the Spurs. They are the first team eliminated. Now, they're not a worse team record-wise than either the Pistons or the Wizards, but the Western Conference is tougher. Most teams have higher records than their Eastern counterpart, and so it just happens that the poor Wemby and the Spurs are not going to make it through. If there's any Wemby fans who became Spurs fans because he became a Spur, that's great. Hope you stay following the Spurs. However, this is why they got to pick Wemby. They are, obviously not one of the best teams by getting that high of a draft pick. 1350 at this current point is maybe a little less than they should be with Wemby, but some of it is just the cohesion of play between the Spurs, and maybe being in the Western Conference isn't going to help either. So yeah, rough for them, rough for Wemby's first year. I'm sure he would like to be doing more than 13-50 at the moment, but he is actually going to be out for the game against the Warriors. So I guess he won't be too worried about that one tomorrow. But otherwise, yeah, Spurs are going to be the first team eliminated. The Wizards and Pistons stay alive at the current moment. I think that's just through play-in standings. I'm not sure they can get into an actual playoff spot. Maybe mathematically, if they went out and someone else loses out, expect them to be probably out of here pretty soon. And as we discussed last week, the Pistons are still above the Wizards. They were tied, and then the Wizards lost again, and the Pistons won again. So interesting things going on at the bottoms of the conferences. Spurs going, Wizards and Pistons clawing on for life, but the Wizards have lost 16 straight now.
Yeah, 16 straight doesn't look like it's going to really change much at this point. I mean, we were talking in this last video, like, if they were to match the Pistons record of losses in a row, they would actually lose that last game against the Pistons. I think that would be March 29th. So we got about 3 weeks from now. So, I think it's entirely possible. When you look at their schedule, they got the Rockets, they got Bulls, they've got the Celtics, of course, they got the Rockets again. They got some teams in here that, maybe the Wizards can overcome and beat, but not very likely. I mean, they've got some playoff teams in there, before they face the Pistons. So not cream of the crop for the most part, but I think it's entirely possible that the Wizards will end up with a worse record than the Pistons. I mean, the Wizards, once again, we can't overstate it. They've just been really bad this year. And again, that Kyle Kuzma tweet, that's going to probably haunt him for the rest of his days if he doesn't. If the Wizards, if he stays with the Wizards and they continue to be as bad as they have been, that's probably going to haunt him for a while. Now, with that being said, let's actually look back at the top of the East. You mentioned the Cavs are right there. 3, they, of course, wouldn't face the Celtics, super early on. Depending on how things shape up, if they made it to the Eastern Conference Finals, they'd probably face them then. But in between them, the Bucks. So Milwaukee had, an interesting week. We talked earlier this week about the Bucks having to face the Clippers. Clippers been a pretty hot team, over the year since they got Harden and kind of meshed together and figured that thing out. And it's like, okay, we found out, right before we recorded, Giannis was going to be out. And it's like, okay, well, with how the Clippers have been playing, even though they had that loss to LA, the other LA team, the real LA team, I'm claiming that the Lakers are back now.
Make your claim, man.
Yeah. But Bucks, they came out and they got that dub regardless, even with Giannis out. So pretty impressive there. Your boy Bobby Portis, darn near 30 points and 16 rebounds off the bench. I mean, he came out, he did his thing. He was the second leading scorer just behind Dame, who had 41, by the way. So incredible games by both of those guys. And then they turn around and they get thrashed by the Warriors. And the Warriors, the same team that just got thrashed by the Celtics. The NBA is funny like this. And you get Giannis back in this game. Bobby Portis still gives you pretty good, 20 off the bench and everything. Dame gives you 20, Giannis gives you 23. But outside of that, not a single other person in double digits for the Bucks. And the Warriors, pretty good game. I mean, even with Klay Thompson only getting 10 points in, 125 to 90, Warriors put it on them, and it's like, I don't know how to really explain it. And I know we were just talking about it, like people are going to get on dock about this game now. Not the end of the world, but it's just weird how you can have such a good performance without your star player a couple of days before that against a really good team, and then turn around and a team that doesn't really have that much momentum can come out in there and just beat you up like that.
Yeah, and I think ultimately it goes down to kind of the seeds are planted, and 2 games prior to this. So one of those games is that Clippers game. The Bucks trailed by 10 at the end of the first quarter. They chipped away at that lead the next 2 quarters. And then finally in the fourth quarter, they dropped a 40-point quarter against the Clippers' 25 points in that quarter to take a big lead and get the win. That was behind mostly Bobby Portis, Pat Bev's assisting, not his scoring. He scored decently, but Pat Bev's assisting, setting up the right shots, and of course Dame goes for 41. AJ Green hits a pretty clutch shot. Would like to see him get a little more playing time, and he did get 22 minutes in that game, more than Crowder. So it's nice. We have a hard guard rotation to kind of crack into. But it's a great game there, but they definitely looked a little disorganized in the beginning, trying to figure it out without Giannis. And they get Giannis back, and I think Doc said it best in his own interview. They kind of played random basketball against the Warriors. They just got out there and ran around. And Doc was like, people were complaining about Doc's use of timeouts and stuff. But at a certain point, I think it just gets to a situation where it's like, sometimes, we're 41 and 22 now. You can afford a random loss. You're probably not catching the Celtics anyway. Maybe he did it as a coaching thing. I'm not going to give Doc too much credit, but there's just this interesting scenario of like, just disorganized basketball. Sometimes the Bucks still trying to get kind of meshed together, figure out who's doing what. Doc has come in and definitely boosted up the defense. That did not happen in this game, and it really all comes down to that fourth quarter. Actually, the Bucks are down in the first 2 quarters. It's a bad game by halftime. Third quarter, that's definitely the Bucks game. They fought back a little bit. And then the fourth quarter, the Bucks scored 9 points and just tucked up a bunch of shots. Missed so many shots in the fourth quarter. The Warriors shot the lights out when they needed to. And I think the other seed that was planted is that Warriors kind of breakdown against the Celtics. That's not a team you're going to see that happen to more than once in a row, typically. And I think, they're coming off of so much media attention on a massive collapse against the Celtics. And so it's just, I think this is a trap game. Occasionally, it's for some reason, and it happens in the playoffs sometimes too. It happened a lot against Miami. The Bucks decide that they'll shoot every shot right at the rim, but not into the basket. They just brick everything. And usually, it never fails. If we have a game where we're not shooting well, the other team hits like every shot they want. So this one, Warriors were hungry. Bucks were riding a high. They were 6-0 after the All-Star break. They just got a big win without Giannis. They got Giannis back. Giannis probably not at full strength either. Maybe shouldn't have played 33 minutes in this game, tied for leading the team in minutes, especially considering the final score. But I think that the Warriors just outplayed them. Bucks definitely outplayed the Clippers. Did a great job on their first trip to California there. But then, actually, California came to them for that one. But then they went to California, got the Warriors at home, and just, I don't know. I think they rode in a little too high. The Warriors were looking to kind of fix their image. They're getting to play you just got beat up by the first team in the East. Now you get the second team in the East coming to your house. Can't let that stand twice. And Steph Curry came out with a mission, put up 29. Jonathan Kuminga got 20. Jackson gets 15. Just a good game for the Warriors and a horrible game, disorganized game for the Bucks. Don't think you'll see that again from the Bucks in that fashion. But it is definitely an unfortunate outcome as a Bucks fan.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and look at this, weekend coming up here. We mentioned it already, the Bucks Lakers game. That one's gonna be. I would have said it would have been a bigger deal, but you just told me right before we came on the I guess not the air, but before we got on the recording here, LeBron James is not gonna be in this game. I'm highly disappointed. So, but you know what, man? We just talked about it, and it's just funny how in the NBA, stars are probably more important than definitely the NFL. And like as a bigger NFL fan, I can recognize like star players just mean more in the NBA. But we've seen so many times where teams just will have their first or second or both best players out, and they just come out and just beat a team that they shouldn't really beat. So guys come off the bench, they step up, they move up in the rotation. Like it just, I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to happen today, but I think it's entirely a possibility. But LeBron being out probably going to be the biggest hit here. So I would probably say the Bucks are going to win this one. Coming off of that game again against the Warriors, they're probably going to do the same thing the Warriors are thinking. Like, hey, we need to fix our our perception right now. Get all this noise out the way. We also got the Celtics who also probably want to fix their perception right now. Seems like everybody's trying to, I don't want to say everybody's acting like they're cooked, but you do so well the whole season that everybody starts acting like you're horrible, just off of one or two losses, especially to a great team like the Nuggets. But so that one's a good one. And then the Bucks and Clippers, they play once again on Sunday. So maybe this one. With Giannis, maybe they might lose. So I don't know. But definitely some exciting matchups this weekend as we come into next week.
Yeah, I think the Bucks Lakers should have been probably the game of the week, despite the position of the Lakers standing wise. I think that's just a Showtime game, but no LeBron is going to be a rough one. It's just like a trap game in both ways because there's no LeBron on the Lakers side, and so you don't want to underestimate the rest of that squad because of that. But also the Bucks are coming off of a reeling loss. I'm sure the Lakers are aware of that, but I'm sure that the Bucks are aware that the Celtics that the Warriors just got beat up. We let them destroy us. So Celtics and Suns should be pretty fun. I think there's a pretty high chance that the Celtics can snap their losing streak, and the Suns are a tough team. But I just feel like the Celtics are probably due for one. I don't think they're cooked. I would prefer the Celtics be cooked. I'm just going to be straight up about that one. I would like to see their downfall. And the Suns are a really good team, but I think that the Celtics, I don't know, feel odd that they lose 3 in a row. And I just can't really see it happening. But maybe the Suns get them this time, and then next week when they play again, the Celtics get back. Who knows? And then the other game, of course, Bucks Clippers. I don't know how to feel about that one. We beat them without Giannis, then we die with Giannis. Maybe I'm not too excited to have Giannis in the game. Personally, if Giannis's knee isn't fully ready to go, I would be okay with him just resting that. I know we're in a pretty tight race in the Eastern standings for that second and third place at the moment. I mean, the Magic have been on a 5-game win streak. They're trying to rise up to try to get into that 2-3 conversation. But right now, if we lost, we would be behind the Cavs and still ahead of the Magic. So I understand wanting to get your best guy out there and stay ahead, especially as we go through the gauntlet here at the end of the season. But if Giannis' knee is not fully healthy, then it's just not ethical to put him out there, have him running around, jumping on it. So hopefully, he's listed as day-to-day right now. Dame is also listed as day-to-day. So actually, maybe this Bucks-Lakers game might be a battle of the bench rosters. Chris Middleton still out dealing with his tweaked ankle. So we'll see what the Bucks are up to. I think that they have a good chance to take on the Lakers, but beating the Clippers in the way they did and now getting Giannis back, that one also feels, I'm going to keep saying a lot tonight, but feels like a trap game. Like we're kind of doomed to lose that one. So I don't know, but it should be fun. As a Bucks fan, even games we lose, unless we lose in like a stupid way, and stupid honestly doesn't even count the Warriors game. At a certain point, I knew we were done with that one, and you could just grieve and move on. If you get taken out on like a bad call, or someone chucks up a shot and then we get hit with a game winner, that's a little worse. So it's fun. Glad to have Bucks basketball. Post All-Star break basketball is usually pretty fun. The intensity starts to heat up, as noted by Jimmy Butler and the and the Heat and their blazing trajectory. So I'm excited for this week. I think this will be a good week of basketball. We're getting close to some of these kind of marquee matchups that'll really start to show us what to look forward to as the playoffs start.